All right. Well, Salisia is here with us today. She serves as Vice President of Provider Services at American Family Care, overseeing nearly 200 nurse practitioners and physician assistants. While overseeing provider onboarding and workforce strategy, she also works closely with clinical operations and partners across departments to advance provider development, performance, and organizational alignment. As a practicing family nurse practitioner, she is a passionate advocate for provider support and consistently elevates the standard of care in urgent care at large. Welcome to DX the Podcast Live, Salisia.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me.
Yes, we are so excited to have this conversation today. Yes. I love all of your perspective and what you bring. So I kind of, after our conversations, I see you really in the coach's seat. You coach on leadership, you coach on best practices, on achieving personal bests. Over the years, you've really developed so many people. You probably look back and think, oh my word, all these people that have come through. And all kind of at different inflection points. So urgent care, like any business really, kind of needs specific or different skill sets and human qualities that can be kind of pulled out or pulled from people. So talk to us about some of those top characteristics, maybe 3 to 5, et cetera, of high performers in urgent care. And what are some of these mindsets or capabilities that we should be cultivating in our staff to attain great results?
Wow, that is such a loaded question. When I first started in this role about 13 years ago, when I first started with American Family Care, I was a big stickler on resumes and different things like that. And I would actually discredit the person that had misspellings and their format was wrong, because I was like, that's your story. Your story should be error-proof, especially with spell check. But as I've gotten, now 13 years later.
A couple lessons learned.
Yes, a couple of lessons learned. A lot of people can put anything on paper, and anybody can say anything in an interview.
Yeah.
And so we really had to kind of restructure. And I will say, if I have to give out some keys and some wisdom, you definitely want to know what your organization culture is, but you also want to know what type of clinic that is, what that clinic needs. And once you become familiar with that, it really helps you with pulling out the key attributes. But I would say from a foundational perspective, you definitely want someone that is trainable, okay? Because we get a lot of people with experience that are not trainable. You want to get someone that's also flexible. Medicine is always changing.
Absolutely.
And so I don't need that provider that's writing Z-Pak for toe fungus or, writing it for everything that comes in saying, hey, Salisia, I'm writing 500 3 times a day, but for what? So you want someone that is flexible. You want someone that's trainable. And I believe it was mentioned this morning that you also want someone who's a team player. I tell you, I am so grateful for my team in the clinic. When I'm working in the clinics, my front office, I'm buying them lunch, because I couldn't deal with all the things front office deals with on a day-to-day, during a day-to-day shift. Yeah. So I do want that provider that recognizes that and respects those that's helping them, because it is, as a team, we can present the best experience for that patient.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for kind of the learnings over the years, and recognition of even your own kind of journey from this is where I started and this is now what I see. So, all right. Well, now that we've covered what excellence looks like, let's shift to how you maybe coach the coaches, because you can't do it all. That's 200 people is a lot. So how do you develop leaders? When you think about how you equip them to carry out business initiatives, reinforce high performance, walk us through maybe what goes into some of your kind of provider reviews, prescription reports, how you maybe use some of those tools to actually take action and improve outcomes.
Man, you hit me with some good stuff today. Okay. So when it comes to wanting to replicate what you want for your organization, you at least have to spend time with the ones that are training the ones that are joining your organization. So I do try to have consistent meetings with my trainers. I've also put together courses that are assigned to them on a quarterly basis.
Oh, they love you.
Yes, they love me so much. But just to make sure that they are giving out the foundation of what we want every provider to experience, to make sure they are going to meet our goals and the different things that we're experiencing expecting of them. And then as their journey goes on, so we don't leave them in onboarding. We don't say, hey, your 90 days is up, you're done. We actually have different metrics. I know Xperity has some amazing reports. There's the Per4 report that tells a lot about providers. I also like the chart audit report. That's really good because I can see if someone's always diagnosing people with URIs. Like, wait a minute, is that really a URI? And also, there's controlled substances report. So we can pull in all that data, and it helps me to identify the providers that I need to prioritize to talk to. So it's not, if they're underperforming, I'm not gonna go at them and scream at them or anything like that. It is really my goal to say, hey, how can I be a help for you? Because I want you to meet these metrics, and my passion is patients. So I want to make sure patients are getting the right care. So with all those reports, all the data, with my trainers that are boots on the ground in the market, it is definitely a collaborative effort to produce the provider that we need for our organization.
Love that. And I can see your passion right now, and I can absolutely see why people follow you. So that's fantastic. So we've also talked a little bit about how do you get buy-in in the organization. So we kind of talked about coaching the coaches, which are kind of those higher performers, but sometimes we have to get buy-in across the organization to drive change, and there's a whole lot of varying degrees of people's abilities and levels of commitment. So talk about how you kind of strategically leverage different people in your programs, maybe pilot programs in particular, and how it's important to know like who sits at the top, who's a top performer, and who's maybe a detractor, and how is that recognition and knowledge critical for kind of shaping the future of making these changes happen?
Yes, so before I answer this question, I definitely have to give a shout out to our product management team.
Oh, great.
They are so amazing, and I appreciate them, and I recommend this, so if you want another nugget, here we go. Definitely when you're rolling out something, do it on a smaller scale. So if it explodes, it's not a big explosion, but you definitely want to have, but you also want to have someone that can organize, keep it going, get the feedback. Now, I am going to tell you another secret about who you choose for the pilot. So listen really, really closely, because I don't want them on the outside to know. But
this is a podcast.
Choose, yes. I don't want them to know. But I will actually enroll my most vocal provider, the one that has the most difficult, the most opinionated, the one that gives me all the pushback, because if I can win them over, I can win everyone over. So they're going to be a part of the team. But in addition to that, I will have my high performers. I will have those in other markets, in other states, join in as a group. And once again, our product management team, when we start rolling out ideas, there's like a pre-check-in where they'll actually have all the instructions and all of those things, and they're able to speak about it to the group, and then the group can give us feedback, and then before we roll it out, we make the changes, and then we roll it out. The product management team checks in, and that helps so much, because we want to roll out good changes, but if you don't have someone to help you stay consistent, it tends to get a little rocky. So I use my most challenging people. So now my product management team probably doesn't want to look at me right now, but yeah, if they're already vocal, let them be vocal about how to make things better.
I love it. That is probably the last selection people would make when it comes to rolling out a program, but it absolutely makes sense.
Yes.
So. All right. Last question. Okay. What is your number one tip for staying passionate? We've already used that word actually a couple times in urgent care. You don't just coach high performers. You also work with physicians and staff who are truly feeling burned out. So what is your top piece of advice for anyone in these positions? And what are some practical ways to reignite passion?
Wow. So I would definitely say for me, one of the biggest things I can say to all medical leaders or just anybody in general, you've got to stay passionate about your why. Why did you do this? Why did you get into this? And I will say early on, it was very difficult for me to transition into this world and not give as much patient care as I like to. Mm-hmm. But I feel like what I have accepted in this role is that I am now in a place where I can empower other providers to be their best self, to give good care to the patients we serve. So your impact is impacting them so they can impact others. So I've got to stay strong. I've got to stay in the fight. I've got to continue advocating, be in that ear, putting things together that helps me be accessible. And I will say I did have to create boundaries.
Sure.
I did have to say, hey, book a meeting with me. In my signature, I actually have book a meeting link.
Yeah.
And it helps me kind of organize my schedule so I can put people in certain pockets when they want to have conversations. And so I have to make sure I'm my best self. But also when it comes to my team, I'm so dedicated about knowing my team, putting time on my calendar to say, reach out to a provider, just a random provider, just to say hi. Because I don't want to always be the one calling them saying, and you didn't do this right. And you didn't do this right. But I just want to check in. How are you doing? Oh, heard you had a new baby. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, just really wanting to check in with my people, letting them know that I'm there for them, there to support them. And I'm also going to be the one to tell you, hey, you're getting out of line, got to come back in. But also using your resources. I'm a big component, partnered with our HR team of, making sure not only the providers are physically able to do their job, but are they mentally able to do their job? So I'm big about looking up PTO. If you offer that to your team, I look up PTO, and if I see someone's at a balance that's a little bit high, I'm going to say, hey, you need to take a vacation. Now, my staffing team doesn't like that. My scheduling team's like, girl, what you doing? But once again, I want my providers to show up as their best self. And in order to do that, I have those conversations with them. If I notice from the data, as we talked about before, if their NPS score is low and it was high last month, I'm going to follow up. I'm going to check in with them. Hey, what's going on? What's happening? If I notice records aren't being closed like they should, okay, is something going on in the clinic?
Looking for all those signals.
For me, I really just want to identify what's going on before it becomes a crisis, before they're calling out every day.
Yeah.
I want to intercept that. And it is a lot of work, but the dedication, and because of the dedication, because of the desire, it becomes a reward at the end, because at the end of the day, I know that I'm empowering someone who's going to help impact their communities.
Awesome. Well, super inspirational.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes. We'll see you next time on DX.